New York. The New York City subway is one of the most famous metro systems in the world and easily the most extensive network in the United States. It features 472 stations, over 28 different lines and 36 different services with a total route length of 399 kilometers. It serves 4 of the 5 boroughs of New York: Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx, with the notable exception being Staten Island. The very first subway train in New York commenced operation on October 27, 1904 and ran from City Hall to 145th Street and Broadway. The system runs 24/7 on a flat-based fare system. Currently, the city is planning Stage 2 of the 2nd Avenue subway expansion, which will extend the Q line from 96th Street to 125th Street. The project is actually only slated to cost about $10 million. 770 times over. If only there was a huge section of unused track in an underserved part of the city that could be converted into operational rail. Tokyo. Tokyo's metro system is absolutely insane, but technically it isn't one system. It comprises of 2 systems: the Tokyo Subway, which is operated by Tokyo Metro Co. and serves primarily central Tokyo and other major districts, and the Toei Subway, which is operated by the Tokyo Metropolitan Bureau of Transportation and operates in areas that aren't covered by the Tokyo Metro, including Narita and Haneda airports. It boasts a ridership of 3.9 billion a year, 286 stations, and 13 lines between the networks, and a combined length of 304.1 kilometers. Despite the fact that they literally employ dudes to squeeze you onto the train during peak hour, Tokyo's combined metro system only transports around 22% of Tokyo's 40 million daily rail passengers. Tokyo's first underground subway was the Ginza line, which opened in 1927 and connected Asakusa and Ueno, whereas the Toei subway's first line was the Asakusa line, which opened in 1960. Currently, there are plans to add a 4.8 kilometer branch to the Yurakucho line, add 2.5 kilometers to the south of the Namboku line, as well as a plan to open a new waterfront line by the mid-2040s. London. The London Underground is the OG metro system. Its first line, the Metropolitan line, opened in 1863 and ran between Paddington and Farringdon, although the term underground wasn't really used until 1908 thanks to the debut of the now iconic roundel symbol. The system is around 402 kilometers in length, features 11 lines with a combined 272 stations, most of which are north of the River Thames. And it had a total annual ridership of 1.81 billion in 2023. It serves mostly London and Greater London, though it does feature a few stations in small commuter towns outside of the city. The Elizabeth line was the network's most recent upgrade. Although it's considered to be national rail, it opened in May of 2022 in order to significantly improve east to west connections throughout the city. Later this year, the network is set to upgrade the Piccadilly line with new and improved rolling stock. Fun fact, the system map is also pretty much the blueprint for metro system maps globally, having been designed by the legendary Harry Beck in 1931. Sydney. The Sydney Metro is a relatively new metro system, with the first section of the first line opening in 2019 after starting construction in 2013. It saw over 23.3 million passengers in 2023. Not to be confused with Sydney suburban trains, which started operation in 1855, the Metro is a fully autonomous system consisting of a single line with 21 stations and 52 kilometers of track. The most recent expansion opened on the 19th of August 2024 and extended the line from Chatswood to Sydenham and introduced the first new CBD train stations in over 4 decades. By 2032, the system aims to have a total of 4 lines, 46 stations, and 113 kilometers of track. Currently under construction are the Sydney Metro West extension connecting the city to Parramatta, a line conversion from Sydenham to Bankstown, and the Western Sydney Airport line. Singapore. Singapore's MRT system saw a total ridership of 1.24 billion in 2024, which is absolutely ridiculous considering that the system was only proposed in 1967 and opened in 1987. In fact, since 1987, the MRT has built 6 lines, 143 stations, and 242.6 kilometers of track, with a network that covers most of the island. On top of this, the city-state plans to double the amount of track to around 460 kilometers in 2040. If I were to list all the construction projects in Singapore that are either planned or in the works, I would have to make an entirely separate video. If you're the type of person who would be itching to see that kind of video, please let me know in the comments below. I'm a man of the people after all. As I mentioned, the system was first proposed in 1967 after city planners determined that a metro system would be needed on the island by 1992. The first line, the North-South line, started operations on the 7th of October 1987, with 5 stations running from Yio Chu Kang to Toa Payoh. Stations in Singapore often have a strong focus on being environmentally friendly, with many, such as Canberra, having a specific focus on being open and maximising natural light, which is ironic because the original Canberra is known for housing Australia's beating heart of darkness and pure evil, also known as the federal government. Glasgow. Budapest. The Budapest Metro features 4 lines and 52 stations across 39.4 kilometers of track in most of the Hungarian capital, and served 382.6 million people in 2023. It's the second oldest electrified underground system in the world, with its yellow M1 line having opened in 1896. Unless you count the funicular Tunnel line in Istanbul, which opened in 1875. I personally don't believe that funicular railways are real, and are instead employed by Big Mountain to sell more postcards. Speaking of postcards, the Budapest Metro is honestly so aesthetically pleasing and is the main reason I put it on this list. In fact, it's the only metro system in the world to have a UNESCO World Heritage listing. I mean, just look at the tiny little trains with the teeny tiny platforms. If you're ever in Europe, I would highly recommend visiting. The most recent extension was the M4 line, which opened in March of 2014 and is fully autonomous. Since then, a north-south M5 line has been proposed, though it doesn't have much support within the government. Buenos Aires. The Buenos Aires Subte was the first metro system ever to open in Latin America, the Southern Hemisphere, and the Spanish-speaking world, with its first line, Line A, opening in 1913 among a collection of urban renewal projects in the city. It has 6 total lines with 104 stations, totaling 56.7 kilometers of track, 63.1 if you include the pre-metro, which is a light rail track. It primarily serves the central areas of Buenos Aires and its outer neighborhoods, with trains running every 3 to 4 minutes, except on Line H, which has a frequency of about 6 minutes. The next planned addition to the Subte is Line F, which will be another fully autonomous line, will span around 5 kilometers and connect Constitucion station with Plaza Italia. It aims to alleviate congestion on the C line and improve north-south transit across the city. Construction is slated to begin in 2026 with a target opening date of 2031. The Subte has Wi-Fi. Shanghai. Once again, we continue the trend of every metro system with more than 4 stations being built every decade being located in East or Southeast Asia. To put things into perspective, the Shanghai Metro comprises of 19 lines, 508 stations, 808 kilometers of track, and had an annual ridership of 3.661 billion in 2023. As of 2025, there are currently 236 kilometers of new rail under construction, meaning that by 2029, the network will have an additional 139 stations, 5 lines, and will cover over 1,000 kilometers, despite the fact that it only opened in 1993. Again, if I was to list all the construction projects that Shanghai is currently undergoing, I would have to make an entirely separate video. This system, as I mentioned, opened in 1993 and is the 3rd oldest metro system in mainland China, although various forms of proposals for a metro network date all the way back to 1950. Also, just as a side note, China currently accounts for 44% of the global metro mileage alone. Just sit on that for a second. Okay, that's enough. The original plan when this system was conceptualized was to have 325 kilometers of track by 2025. However, since the city was named to host the World Expo in 2010, Shanghai expedited this process and ended up building almost 400 kilometers of track from 2003 to 2010 and completing the 40-year plan they had set out 15 years ahead of schedule. Lausanne. Lausanne is the smallest city in the world to have a functioning metro system, consisting of 1 line, the M2, and a second light rail line, the M1. The metro line consists of 15 stations, is around 7.8 kilometers in length, and connects Bouchy Olympique to Crozet. The diligent statisticians of Lausanne recorded that the entire system had a ridership of around 45.4 million. In 2013. The M2 was fully automated and originally opened as a funicular railway in 1877. It was then converted to a rack railway in 1959 until its eventual conversion to metro in 2008. As you would expect given its history, the M2 is a very steep metro line, sometimes having to face gradients from 11.6 to 12%. Currently, there's a 3rd line in planning, line M3, which will operate autonomously like M2 and serve the northwest parts of Lausanne, including areas such as Blicheret and Plaine de Loup, before terminating at Lausanne-Gare. As well as this, there has recently been approval to upgrade the M2, which will see the construction of a new tunnel between Lausanne-Gare and Crancy to alleviate congestion issues. Stockholm. The Stockholm Tunnelbana is mostly famous for its art and is often described as the world's longest art gallery with art installations at 94 of its stations. Stockholm actually has a program to specifically commission art for new stations, which has been in existence since 1957, not long after the network's conception in 1950. This came about after lobbying from local artists such as Vera Nilsson and Siri Durkert and the decision of local government to include art inside of stations in order to prevent vandalism. Today, there are works from over 250 artists on display within the Tunnelbana. The network itself consists of 3 lines, 7 routes, 100 stations, 105.7 kilometers of track, and served 462 million people in 2019. As mentioned, the network opened in 1950 with the inauguration of the Green Line, which ran from Slussen to Hökerengen, with the most recent line being the Blue Line, which opened in 1975. More recently, Stockholm has plans to build the Yellow Line by 2034, which will connect Fridhemsplan to the southern part of the city and is part of a broader urban planning project. Thessaloniki. The Thessaloniki Metro is located in Greece's second most populous city and is the most recent metro system in Europe to be built, despite having been proposed in 1918, seriously planned in the 1980s, and having started construction in 2006. This is because during its construction, they have uncovered over 300,000 artifacts, meaning delays of many, many decades. I wonder what kind of historical artifacts they're digging up along the HS2 route. The benefit of this, however, is that some of the stations are quite literally open museums, with some of the most significant archaeological discoveries in the past few decades taking place because of the construction of the metro. As mentioned, the government originally planned this metro in the 1980s and began construction in 1989. However, they pretty much ran out of money, meaning there was a big hole in the ground that the government never filled in, leading to the locals nicknaming it the Hole of Buenos. It then went through a series of planning proposals, including one in 1992, until construction finally started in 2006, along a different alignment of course, until its eventual opening in November of 2024. Today, the network has 13 stations, a length of 9.6 kilometers, and a projected ridership of 92.7 million a year. They currently have an extension under construction, which is projected to be open in November of this year, and several other lines that should be, emphasis on should be, open in 2040. Me. Hello. I'm not a metro system. Okay, just before I say anything else, I know some of you really want to comment right now that I haven't covered every single metro system, and I'm like completely aware of that. Now, if there are other systems that you want me to cover in like a part 2 or something, just leave it in the comment section because I'll probably read it at least. But if you did enjoy this video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe, and don't leave yet because I don't just make train videos. I don't just make explainer videos. I seem to have gathered quite a large number of people who are now aware of my channel from my last video, so I kind of thought I would continue with that momentum, give the people what they want, but going forward this channel will probably be like, it'll be a lot of the stuff that I'm interested in, not necessarily train stuff, although I probably will do more explainer videos and train videos completely contrary to what I just said. But if anything, it'll probably just be like whatever I'm interested in, whatever I want to make videos on. So if that sounds like something that would interest you, please do go ahead and subscribe. But yeah, thank you for watching. Metro merch coming soon. Okay, bye.